One asset in 2025 has given more than 100% returns. And no, it's not Bitcoin, it's silver. And if you look at the data, this is published in the New Indian Express on 12th of December 2025. It says that silver breaches 2 lakh per kg milestone, which is up 129% so far. That means from January up till December, silver is up by 129%. And this kind of return, not any assets has given. Even if you compare this with Indian stock market or the stocks in the US, none of the assets has given this kind of return so far in 2025. So naturally, the question that comes in our mind, and trust me guys, this is the question that most of my friends, peers and family have been asking me since a week. Is it the right time to invest in silver? Will the rally continue? So let's understand the answer to this question in this video. So to find a solution to our question on whether investing in silver right now makes sense or not, we will try and understand what are the predictions of silver prices, first locally and then globally. So for local price predictions, we will look at the report from Motilal Oswal, which is published on 15th of October 2025, which says that 2.4 lakh will be the target price for silver by 2026. But again, we will not base our investment plan just by looking at some predictions made locally. If you look at the global prices of silver market, which you can see in my screen right now. So if you look at the current price of a silver in the global market, this is again taken from Bullion Vault, which says that current price of silver as on the date when I'm recording, somewhere around 1st of January, is $71.59 per ounce. This again, if you use the conversion factor, which is 1 ounce equal to somewhere around 28.4 grams, will come to 2.29 lakh per kg. So we see here that the global prices of silver is somewhere close to the local predictions. But then again guys, this $71.59 per ounce is a value that I want you guys to remember, because we will be looking at the global predictions for silver prices. So this is taken from excess.com, wherein we see that several companies like Citigroup, we have HSBC, who have predicted the prices for silver in 2026. And we see that this value ranges somewhere around $44 per ounce to $65 per ounce. So it lies in that range, and this is for 2026. So guys, we see here from global predictions for silver prices that the price for silver is somewhere in the range of $43 per ounce to $65 per ounce. But then again, us deciding whether to invest in silver or not by considering just the predictions for price in silver, that will be mere stupidity. So I'll try in the next 5 to 7 minutes to break down on whether to invest in silver or not by considering the factors that's actually fueling the silver price, by seeing the historically what has happened to silver prices, how it has impacted the retail investors. All these are the kind of details that we are going to get into. If you look at the price history of silver, so in my screen right now, you will be able to see the price history of silver starting from 1980 to 2025, which is around 65 years of history of silver prices. You guys can see here that there were two major peaks, one in 1980, the other in 2011, wherein the price of silver hit somewhere around $48 per ounce. So first in 1980, it hit the range of somewhere around $48 per ounce, and then there was a massive crash wherein the prices crashed to somewhere around $4 per ounce, which was a huge crash, so to say. And then again in 2011, the price reached $48 per ounce again, and again there was a crash to somewhere around $8 per ounce. So guys, now in 2025, we see that $48 per ounce resistance is broken, and we stand, like we saw already, at somewhere around $60-70 per ounce range. So this brings a question in our mind: will the crash repeat itself again? So we will understand the major reasons of what happened in 1980 and 2011, wherein there were bull runs, followed by which there were huge crashes. So guys, again the question that comes in our mind is whether this crash will happen again. Will history repeat itself in 2026, and whatever has happened in the past, will that sort of crash happen again in the silver prices? So to understand this, we need to visit history and see what has happened in the past, for which are the reasons for this crash. So the major reason for the 1980s crash in silver price was the Hunt brothers crash, which happened in late 1970s, wherein three sons of one of the oil tycoons named H.L. Hunt, they leveraged a lot of money from the market and started buying silver. This was majorly done to beat the inflation. The rate of inflation was too high during this period in the US. So they bought a lot of silver by leveraging money from the market. And this made the price of silver to move from somewhere around $5 per ounce to somewhere around $50 per ounce. The US regulator took note of this and they put a full stop to this. They asked them to not leverage any more money and buy silver. So they did not have enough money to buy more silver, and there was the demand that was created for silver at this phase was not real demand. It was the prices were moving up only because the Hunt brothers were buying a lot of silver. So this resulted in the first crash in 1970s, wherein once they did not have a lot of money, that there was no demand also, so the prices started going down when they started selling their holdings. Also, on one of the days during this period, that was a Thursday, the price of silver crashed from somewhere around $20 per ounce to $11 per ounce, and this day was called the Silver Thursday. So guys, another important information that's worth noticing here, Mr. Warren Buffett, this report says that in 1997 he invested in silver, which was around 129.7 million ounces of silver, and this represented 25% of the annual silver production. So you see here that he did not jump into investing in silver when the prices were high. He waited for the prices to go down. He didn't take part in buying silver during that crash phase also. He waited for the price to become stable and then he started investing in silver. And he made $500 million of profit by investing in silver. So again, this does not answer our question if we should invest in 2026 or not. That will be explained further in the video. But again, this is an information that's worth noticing. So moving on to the 2011 crash in the silver prices, if we try and understand what were the reasons for the 2011 crisis, we see that there were several reasons to this. One major reason was the economic situation in the US and Europe. So most of the countries in Europe like Greece, Ireland, Portugal, they were going through a lot of financial problems. And in the US, it was just recovering from the Great Economic Depression and the Lehman Brothers crisis. Also, the Fed had announced that it will keep interest rates at zero for the next 2 years. Naturally, people will pull their money out from bonds and try to invest in safer havens like silver and gold. And also, the Swiss National Bank, it announced that it will mint money in unlimited quantities. So if there's something being minted in unlimited quantities, there's no much value for that. So people did not rely on keeping their investment in the form of cash. So they started moving on to silver or gold. So these were the three main reasons for the silver prices to increase in 2011. And later in 2011, people realized that all this news of economic crisis was just a hype, and naturally the price of silver came crashing down. Let's now move to the most interesting part of the video. What's happening in 2026? What are the key levers that are driving the prices, and will it be sustained or will there be a fall again? As you can see here, we have discussed about the crash in 1970 and 2011. So we'll move on to what's happening in 2025. I'll be referring to a report again from Motilal Oswal. This simple graph here shows the scenario of supply and demand of silver. So if you see, starting from 2021, the demand actually is outpacing the supply. So the demand for silver is increasing more in compared to the supply that is available. So if you see, the trend was somewhat decreasing, and then the supply trend was decreasing, and then it increased at 2020, and in 2021 the demand actually exceeded the supply. So there is a deficit of minus 79 million ounces of silver, and then it further increased to minus 250, and although it is reducing now, the deficit is reducing now, it's still there. So the supply is not being able to meet the demand. So if we try and understand what are the major reasons for this demand, where is it exactly coming from? So this again is a report from Motilal Oswal. So you can see that the industrial demand for silver has increased considerably. This is in 2024. So if you see, silver is being used in industry for making EVs, solar panels. It's used in electronics and also in 5G. So the jewelry, which we think makes the major part of the silver demand, is only contributing to 18% of the total silver demand. And also the investment is not really much. Investment as in silver coins, bars and ETFs, etc. It contributes only 16%. So the major chunk of silver usage is coming from industrial uses. And again, If we move to the next report, so the previous report only talked about what has happened in 2024. So in this report, we see that the demand for silver in electrical and electronics is constantly increasing starting from 2020s. Although there was a huge spike in the demand in coin and silver bars basically in around 2022, it has been reducing since then. Also in other applications like brazing, silverware, photography, etc. also the demand for silver is increasing. We see that electronics use is up by 50% since 2016, of which PV demand is rising, that is by 142%. So this is a clear indication that the demand for silver in electronics, electricals and other industrial usages are constantly increasing. Now we know that there is an increase in demand of silver while there is a deficit in the supply. But then we naturally will get a doubt if this silver demand cannot be catered from the inventory. So we will have to look at the data of inventory of silver. So we'll be using data from LBMA again. So we have our inventory data of silver from LBMA here. The top part is for gold, which we are going to ignore right now, and the bottom part is for silver. So we see from the inventory data that from 2020 there has been considerable reduction in the inventory of silver. This is happening naturally again because the increased demand is being catered from this inventory. So again we'll get a doubt in our minds that if inventory is being used to cater the demand, what about the production? Is production also going down, or is production helping to cater the demand or not? So for that we'll just pull up the data of production again. So this right here is the data of silver production versus demand starting from 2016, and it has forecasted value of 2024 and 2025. So we see here this red bars indicates the total demand and the blue bar indicates the total supply. So we see that from 2022 the total demand, the red bars are taller than the blue bars, which is again an indicator that the supply is not being able to meet the demand. The demand has surpassed the levels of supply. All these data that we have looked into so far are data from the past. So what is the conclusion from this? Is it an indicator for us to start buying silver? Although we can't precisely predict the price of silver in the future, we can look at some data which gives us an indication of what the demand and supply will look like in the future. Here again, we have a data on silver supply and demand outlook in the future. This gives us a level of silver supply and demand up until 2030. So here we can see that the supply level of silver, which is the green line, is somewhat constant, while the demand specifically from PV is projected to increase considerably until 2030. We also have a data which says that the PV industry will account for about 40% of global silver demand by 2030. So by looking at data on demand and supply from the past and how it is trending right now and what are the future prospects, we see that silver doesn't look like it's going to fall anytime soon. Although corrections of 15-20% is natural in any sort of assets, that's going to be there, but silver is something that's an asset that you can invest on for the future. But does this again indicate us to start buying silver? So we have another interesting data point here. This graph shows the inflation adjusted silver prices. If you see, based on the fact that the value of currency has reduced over time, which is inflation, we see that the value of silver in 1980s during the Hunt brothers crash should have been around $143. So this peak which we are seeing right now is actually nothing considering the inflation adjustments. Even though all this data indicates that the silver prices are going to increase further, it's always a safety factor to keep your portfolio diversified. There are data on your portfolio risk reducing considerably if you are investing in a diversified manner. If you invest in gold, silver and in any of the indices, it is going to reduce your risk considerably. For us to decide what time should we start buying silver, we need to look at the chart of silver. So we'll quickly get into the chart in TradingView. Here we have the TradingView chart for silver. This is a one-day chart and I have taken a simple 200-day moving average indicator. So this is a good indicator if you're planning to make any investments for the future. This basically, you guys might be knowing already, indicates the last 20 average price based on the last 20 closing candles. So we can see here that the current price is too high in comparison to the 200-day moving average. This shows us that it's a risky point to actually start buying silver. Me personally, I won't be confident to buy at this point, wherein you have to pay a very high premium in comparison to what the price on an average should be. So this definitely is one point of risk that we need to consider. And another option that we have in investing in silver is investing in ETFs of silver. So here I have pulled out a chart which shows a comparison of current price of silver against the ranges of price of different ETFs that I have selected here. So if you see here again, this is a 1 month chart. You can see that the prices of ETFs were very high in comparison to that of the actual silver prices, which I don't see that has reduced right now. So you can say that you're paying a premium for the ETFs also. So right now, in my personal opinion, I would wait for the silver prices to come down a little more, followed by which I will be investing. So guys, with all this information, the data analysis, the risks and opportunities that you have at your disposal right now, it's for you to decide if you have to invest in silver right now or not. Also, please consider this video only for knowledge purposes. You can make use of the methodology that I have utilized here to understand the silver prices, the movement, the data, all of it. But please do not consider this video as an investment advice. Please consult your own investment advisor to take decision on investing. And lastly, I've purely made this video on silver analysis since a lot of my friends and family were asking me if they have to invest in silver right now or not. So give it a thumbs up if you have liked this video. Do subscribe and hit that notification icon, and let me know in the comments what would you like to watch in this detailed analytics format as a next video.